Paul coming at you from North Louisiana. Today's video is going to be a little different. There's not going to be any flying because it's way too windy. And one of my paramotors is down for maintenance. Finally blew an exhaust gasket on the old Nitro 200. It's a known failing to those machines. Those boys down there in Florida at Aviator PPG, well, they fixed me right up and I should be having the replacement part tomorrow. Customer service, you know, what can you say? So today I'm going to be talking about gear. I've been flying these paramotors for coming up on 3 years now. And when I say flying, I mean flying. I fly every time that I can fly. It's a sickness. Basic gear first. You gotta have a wing and you gotta have a paramotor and glasses. I consider glasses mandatory gear. I know you can fly without them, but if you get something in your eyes and you can't see, good luck landing or not hitting anything. I would consider a wing, a paramotor, and safety glasses to be your bare bones minimum stuff to get in the air. As far as safety equipment goes, the best thing you have is what's already under your skull. You have to make good decisions when you take flight. It's aviation, it's unforgiving. Gravity always will win eventually. You want to protect that most precious investment with a helmet. I've got a couple of examples here. This is a helicopter helmet. I got it from a pawn shop for about 300 bucks. They're worth a lot more if you buy them outright. But it serves as my motor helmet. It's got good ear protection as far as sound protection, and which leads to the next safety thing, your ears. These motors are pretty loud and they're right by your head. So protect your hearing. You've only got one shot at it. Cheap thing at earplugs. I keep some in the truck. I keep some in the side pouch of the motor harness. Protect your hearing, protect your eyes. Also have a super cheap, super dorky, lightweight bicycle helmet. Anything helps. When I'm traveling or if I'm free flying in the mountains in the burning summer weather, I carry this little cheap helmet. I mean, it protects your noggin. If you take a whack, you won't always fly with a helmet. I'll go ahead and fess up about that. I don't know, the mood just strikes me to go pure minimal, you know, I'll go without one. But that doesn't happen often. Communication, also important. Ham radio for, you know, communicate with local pilots. Also have an AV band radio if I'm going to be flying near airports that are high in traffic. Most of the time I do not fly with a radio. I do always fly with a cell phone and always, you know, have tethers, you know, to tether this stuff to you. Reserve. I almost always fly with a reserve as much as I do a helmet. Again, not always, but most of the time I will put it on. Boy, you know, I wished I had that reserve with me. It's not a thought that I ever want to have. Gloves. Gloves are another thing that not mandatory, but I almost always fly with this thin pair of leather gloves. I think they're some sort of police gloves, like thin, you can really feel with them, like for shooters and SWAT team guys, but they work really good for, you know, you got dexterity in them. I have done SIV courses where I did not have a pair of gloves, reach up, done some collapses, pulled some cravats, but I peeled fingernails back, grabbing at lines, doing maneuvers clinics and things like that. And that stuff will cut you if it slides by your skin fast. So having just a layer of, you know, leather protection is beneficial. I always fly with gloves, 99% of the time. Footwear. I prefer boots. You don't necessarily need real tready boots. I like ankle support. The worst injury I ever had was a turned ankle. I was in the tall grass and I stepped on a gopher mound, big bulky gopher mound, these things that dig around here. It shut me down. Oh, it was bad. There's some jibber jabber on the internet about these little quick hooks, you know, that they make snag lines. 450-ish flights that I've done, paramotor and paragliding. Only once have I ever had a line touch those things. The wing fell kind of down on top of me and the line sort of draped over me. When I went to step away, one of the lines hooked on one of these little boot pieces. I kind of laughed like, oh, that's why. The heel, this little part right here, without the heel, I have come down on my rear end and just slid it in because my feet slid right out from under me. So I would pick footwear that at least has a heel to grab the ground with. You do want something that could bite if you come in with the wrong technique. And it was my fault, it was the wrong technique, but the heel has saved me a couple times. So just wanted to throw that in there. As an offshoot to the safety gear that I'm talking about, also have my cold weather flying gear. Now granted, I'm from Louisiana and we do not get a lot of cold weather, but when it's cold, it hurts us poor Louisiana boys. We just can't handle it like some of you northern guys can. I got a full face motorcycle helmet for my fingers. I've got these heated Cabela's gloves. Got them on special for $99 and they'll run for a solid hour, hour and a half on full heat. Very comfortable as far as the heat goes. Also very not dexterous. You can't really do buckles. You don't get any feeling with them. They're not tactile at all, but they do keep your hands very warm, which is the point. They've also got these nice tethers here so you can take them off in flight and they just hang from your wrist. You can cinch them up where they won't fall off. The suit that I've got here is a motorcycle rain suit that is insulated. This thing is made for riding in the rain at interstate speeds in the cold weather. So it's got to be below 50 for me to even put this thing on. It's fully quilted on the inside. It's very comfortable. I do like my onesie. This thing keeps all the air out, and if you keep all the air out, you'll retain your heat. I've done hour-long flights in this suit in 40-degree weather, and I was not uncomfortable through the whole thing. So, electronics. A lot of guys like to fly with a lot of electronics. I would classify those guys as true gear whores. If you're going across countries, near airports, again, you know, sometimes these things matter. Again, I included the radios here. We talked about those. Modern smartphones, they have so many cool options as far as apps and programs, and they have a GPS built in them. You know, before that, I had this handheld GPS. I used it for, you know, fishing and things like that, you know, going out in the wilderness. Still works very good for paramotoring. It's got glide slopes and altitudes. It's WAS enabled. The Udi by Navitor. Very handy tool. I use it mainly for free flying. It's got all manner of things. It's got a barometric vario, very sensitive. The screen is not too tough, as you can tell. It took a bonk on a Colombian bus trip against a seat, and that's where that crack came from. Securing the electronics. You see, I've got a tether here on this Udi. I've got tethers for everything, and I've also got Velcro on everything. I've got Velcro on the backs of all the gear that I fly with, and Velcro is a very, very handy thing. I wouldn't call it a necessity. This is more of a luxury item. I recommend getting some Velcro if you plan on flying with any sort of stuff. It makes it very convenient just to touch it against something. You know, there's a reason the astronauts use it. As far as tethers go, what is this? This is a keyback. There are various ones. You can pull the long strings and things like that, might get sucked into the propeller. I really like the springy option of this. It keeps the tether nice and tight. You don't have to worry about it getting sucked back. So these little things are not expensive, very handy. Pack of these carabiners to clip stuff on everything. I don't have them out. I've got a big bulk pack of these things. Very nice for clipping things on and off the paramotor if you want to go full gear whore. Also keep some glider tape, different colors depending on which wing I may have to repair. A toolbox. Inside my toolbox, just a little tour. I got a spare starting battery, spark plug wrench, Loctite, crescent wrench, screwdrivers, zip ties. Probably the holy grail of paramotor maintenance and repair are a good supply of zip ties. What's down here in the bottom here? Rag, battery charger, set of spare belts, some more wrenches, WD-40. WD's cheap, available, pliers, electrical tape. Tool stuff, man, tool stuff. Being in the field and not having the tool is very frustrating sometimes. Just a side note on wings. Keep your wings stored in a climate controlled, dark, dry area. Heat, moisture, little rodents are all bad for your glider. You know, these things are your aircraft. You really want to take care of them. The motor is almost inconsequential. I keep it out there in the shop. I do keep it up off the floor. My paragliders, my free flight gear, I'm going to keep stored properly in the corner of this spare bedroom here. It's a good wind sock or wind indicator. I built this out of an old fishing pole, some construction ribbon, split ring and a swivel, Did a base of the fishing pole holder. It's a spring with spikes, so you can stick it down on the ground. It gives it a little flex. Note about wind indicators, I prefer to put them out in front of me. I can see what's coming. Way out in front of you, if it's smooth for a while, you know it's gonna be smooth when you go to launch. A good fuel can, I basically took one that the government broke and I put a breather tube on the back so that you don't get the bloop, 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 bloop. I used to have a valve right here, but the valve seized up. I don't guess it was compatible with gasoline. When it seized up, I just broke it off and I taped a hose on it out in the field, and it's worked great since then. So I'm gonna leave it like that until some issue arises. And as ghetto as it looks, this thing has worked really well. I just took some tape and duct taped a piece of this vinyl hose to the can. No matter how tucked away it is underneath there, I don't need funnels, I don't need any sort of crap like that. I mix my gas and store my gas in another can. Because there's no valve here, you don't have any way to keep the oxygen off your fuel, so it probably oxidizes quicker. So I merely use this as a pour can. I recommend putting these valve stems, you just take the insides out of them, and it's just a breather tube. You can let the air in the back of the can the way they used to when they worked right. So handy. Cannot stress how handy this is. It's got all your mixtures, 100 to 1, 50 to 1, 40 to 1, 32, 24. It's got just raw measurements. I'd be willing to classify this piece of equipment as luxury. It's that nice. I really enjoy it. Quick detach system for your motor. Took a piece of wood and traced where my machine sat. Took a wood routed it out, bolted this piece of wood on, and then just placed me some clips here. When I set the motor on there, I slide this piece of wood and click, click, and it's on there very securely. You know, also when it comes time to put it on, having a table or an elevated carrier like this is very handy, so you don't have to get all the way on the ground to put on your machine. It increases the convenience of a paramotor, and that's pretty hard to do, so I'm in on that. Saves me, you know, 5 minutes on each end. You know, using straps to strap it down is the way I used to do it, and this is so much faster and more convenient. I like it a lot better this way. Other luxury items that you might invest in: replacement parts. I keep an extra propeller for at least one of my machines. I keep extra, you know, exhaust parts. Although I have not for the new motor. It's still warranted, so you know, when the warranty runs out, I may stock up on a few replacement parts. Belts, you know, anything that might shut you down for the day, especially if you're going to be traveling or on vacation with a paramotor. If you can afford it, I would say at least have an extra prop on hand. If you're going to be doing any traveling, you know, with the best company in the world, you're going to be waiting a day or two to get replacement parts from them. So having those parts available and handy be pretty nice if you run into that situation. You know, having an extra prop is very nice, but having an extra paramotor, that's probably your most luxurious thing that you can have, is an extra paramotor. It's nice having that ace in the hole just in case. You know, the simplicity is kind of the beauty of them. That's why I got into it. I went from airplanes to paramotors for the convenience, cost savings, the pure joy of feeling the air and feeling the wing. That's still where my love lies. So there you go. That's the Gear Whore episode. Thanks for watching. Kyle out.